Hello, and welcome back to Elevation 44. I'm your host, Beverly, or B for short. And if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Today, we're diving all into the weekly astrology update, and this will cover the week of September 30th through October 6th, okay? And this is a huge week for us. We are on the heels of dealing with our most recent Pisces lunar eclipse, which brought a lot of internal things up for us, especially around emotions, emotional boundaries, and all of the things that have been done in the dark coming to light. However, we are not escaping this emotional energy anytime soon because we are still smack dab in the middle of eclipse season, and now we have another eclipse right on the horizon, and that is the Libra solar eclipse that'll be happening this week. And this solar eclipse is marking major new beginnings, deep healing, and opportunities for transformation. So we are in the thick of it. We have a lot going on, and the solar eclipse really is going to push a lot of external transformation, versus that lunar eclipse that was more focused on the internal transformation. So we're going to see a lot of things happening very swiftly, and Mars is really active for this eclipse. And Mars is our drive, our action. It really does put some gasoline on whatever is going, right? You just light that match and whoo, we got Mars just putting everything ablaze. And so there's no shortage of action and momentum with this solar eclipse that's happening. So let's go ahead and break it all down. Grab your cozy beverage of choice, grab your notebooks or your calendar, and get ready to mark down what we've got going on for this week. All right. So first we'll start with Wednesday. We're just going to skip over Monday and Tuesday. There's not a whole lot exciting happening that we haven't already talked about in previous weeks on those 2 days, because we are just really in the energies of what we've been in, and we're gearing up for Wednesday, which is showtime. This is the day of the Libra solar eclipse, and this solar eclipse is happening at 10 degrees. Now, the reason why we also look at the degrees that these planets sit at, especially something as powerful as a solar eclipse, is because the numerology gives us another level of insight. And 10, when we bring that down to a single digit number, 1 plus 0 is what? 1. It is the number that's representative of new beginnings. And a solar eclipse is already representative of new beginnings because it is new moon energy on steroids. It is the sun and the moon aligning to really just bring its energies together and its focus together in one particular area. So new beginnings are abound, whether you like them or not, whether you are dragged kicking and screaming or you go willingly. Things are going to change, and they have to change. And what kind of new beginnings are we talking about, right? We're talking about new beginnings, and we're talking about taking action because Mars is so heavily in the mix. But it's really around relationships, balance, harmony, justice, all the things that are really representative of Libra's energy. Eclipses are known for bringing sudden changes and revelations. So expect the revelations and those sudden changes to happen around these areas, around partnerships, around injustice, around balance, okay? We're going to see this coming in heavily, and it's going to be something we can see because, again, these are marked external changes, and we're going to be able to see them very, very clearly, okay? So this eclipse has a strong message of stepping into a new cycle and stepping into that cycle with intention. Like I said, Mars is very active in this configuration. But before we get into Mars, let's talk about what this eclipse is actually blending its energies with other than Mars. So we have the sun and moon in alignment, which makes the eclipse. We also have Black Moon Lilith that's conjunct this energy, and Black Moon Lilith is our raw primal desires we can liken it to a part of our shadow selves that is just unapologetic and unafraid to just go there. And then we also have Mercury that's conjunct this, I wanted to say lunar, but solar eclipse. And Mercury is the planet of communication, thinking, processing, all of that, okay? So they're all together, tightly conjunct this eclipse, and then they're conjunct the South Node. And the South Node is in Libra, and it's telling us that it's time to move away from those past patterns in relationships that are no longer serving us. They need to be released. They need to go. It is time to let it go. And the injustices and the imbalance in all of these other departments, but mainly around our relationships. And I'm not speaking specifically on romantic relationships. That is a huge part of it. I'm talking about partnerships and relationships, all kinds. So that could be the relationships with your family. That could be the relationships with your friends. That could be your business relationships. It really goes all across the board. It's really time for us to confront these old karmic lessons that we have just been looping around. You know, I myself have found myself facing, with a lot of this eclipse energy recently, like, oh my gosh, I'm doing the same loop-de-loop in a different way. It's like the same energy, but with different people. And I'm just like, something's got to change. So it's time for us to choose a new path forward. With the solar eclipse square Mars in Cancer. Now, the solar eclipse squaring anything is tension. Okay, so we already have all that's going on, right, with us needing to confront a lot of these karmic lessons that are slapping us in the face right now. But we also have Mars in Cancer. And the tension with Mars in Cancer is that Mars is not comfortable in Cancer. Mars likes to go. Mars likes to outwardly express. In Cancer, it can't really do that. It is suppressed because Cancer's energy is more of an internal expression. It's about safety. It's about emotional security. It's about protection. So here, when Mars, this fiery, aggressive planet, can't express itself because it's in a very sensitive and emotional sign, it causes a lot of inner tension for us, right? And so this kind of puts us up in a position where we can struggle on how to express our anger, right? We either repress it so much that it shuts us down and is detrimental, or we suppress it so much that we do the opposite, which is we go kaboom, and it comes out in an angry outburst. So there's a bit of emotional instability happening, whether that's internal or that comes out, all right? So be aware that this can make you very emotionally reactive because Mars is driven by emotion when it's in Cancer. It's taking action based off of emotion. So emotional intensity is a thing for this solar eclipse. Frustration is a thing for this solar eclipse. And it makes you protective and defensive, all right? But this Libra energy, all right, is asking us for balance and decisiveness, but taking action by balancing head and heart, or using your emotions to take aligned or inspired action that is not detrimental. But you may be feeling pulled in between wanting to take action and not, right? Like wanting to just protect and nurture and keep yourself emotionally safe within. So you have to look for that balance between the two, all right? Another thing with Mars, let's not forget that it's also still in a square with Chiron in Aries. So there's tensioning happening in this department in terms of our old wounds coming up to the surface. So we got these karmic lessons at play. We got these old wounds at play because Chiron is the wounded healer, okay? So this tension here is really highlighting the need for us to heal those old wounds, especially when it comes to the themes of self-assertion, courage, and independence. Because what happens is with this Libra energy and these old karmic lessons and stuff, we've been so self-sacrificing. We've been so dependent. We've been codependent, and we've gotten into this space where we forgot to balance the two and come into a place of interdependence, which is a healthy balance of dependence and independence, right? But we are too far skewed on that side or maybe on the other. So this is helping us really identify and get into those old wounds that are keeping us in these karmic loops and these cycles that we need to move away from. So this is an opportunity to heal through bold and compassionate action. Do not be afraid to step into your power, even if it feels uncomfortable. And it often will feel uncomfortable, because if it was comfortable, you would have already done it, right? So we're going to have to lean into being uncomfortable during this eclipse. We don't have a choice, or you're just going to be dragged along anyway. And it's going to be even more uncomfortable then. The next thing that is also happening energy-wise on this day of the eclipse is we have a bit of a grand trine energy going on. And what a grand trine is 3 planets in a harmonious flow or exchange of energy. And those 3 planets are Mars again, Mars in Cancer, right? I told you Mars is going to be really active during this eclipse. Then we also have Saturn in Pisces and Venus in Scorpio, all water signs, okay? Now, with these 3 harmonizing together, they're harmonizing our emotional drive, our discipline, and our passion all together. Because the drive comes from Mars, the discipline comes from Saturn, and the passion comes from Venus, okay? Now, with these 3, this harmonious flow between our emotional desires, our discipline to take responsibility, especially when it comes to emotional boundaries and setting up things and protection in that way from Saturn. And then there's a passion to transform our relationships and our values, which is Venus and Scorpio. Venus and Scorpio does not do surface. Venus and Scorpio likes to get to the depth. It needs deeper connection. It needs deeper love. It needs just depth, okay? So let's just say that. Depth, depth, depth. And so this is a great time for us to take constructive steps towards emotional and relational healing. So this is supporting us getting out of those old patterns, the loop-de-loops, those wounds that are festering that need to be aired out and, once and for all healed, so that we can stop these cycles that we've been in and we can move towards something new. So if there is something that needs nurturing, this energy supports making progress in that way with this energy, okay? Then let's not forget our earth signs, okay? Our earth signs, our outer planets are all, not all of them, but a lot of them are in earth signs, okay, right now. And they're going to be shifting out of that soon. So let's take a little bit of this energy and also use it to our advantage during this eclipse. So we have Pluto in Capricorn, because it retrograded back into Capricorn recently. We have Uranus in Taurus and Neptune in Pisces, all right? And these are all giving each other a nice boost of harmonious energy. And this is a supportive energy. And the reason why it's a supportive energy is because they are giving us together a strong foundation for long-term transformation. We're not just making the changes for them to fall away within a few weeks or a few months. No, this is about long-term changes. We're really going down a new path and we're not turning around, okay? So Pluto is going to help us release and rebuild during this process. Uranus is going to help us with breakthroughs and change. And Neptune will provide us with the spiritual healing that we need at this time, okay? So this is support. This is depth and support for this eclipse energy. So we are being pushed to align with our higher purpose, with our path forward. All right, moving off of the eclipse day, let's get into Friday, October 4th, okay? We have Venus in Scorpio, trine Saturn in Pisces. We have just a beautiful exchange here. And again, on the heels of what I just talked about with those 3 planets in those earth signs, this is again that supportive energy that helps us bring depth and commitment into our relationships. Venus in Scorpio is very intense, it's passionate, and it's really focused on emotional transformation, right? Because Pluto is all about that transformation energy, and that's what Scorpio is, ruled by Pluto's energy. So with Venus there, it really takes on that form. And Saturn in Pisces is giving us wisdom and structure to make those changes last, all right? So this is a great day to dive into strengthening bonds, working through relationship issues, and building lasting emotional connections. So if you've been working on deepening a partnership, this is the perfect energy to support that. And lastly, on Saturday, October 5th, we have Mercury in Libra at square with Mars in Cancer, okay? And this is an exact square. So we talked about this square happening through the eclipse energy on Wednesday, and this is when it actually becomes exact. So with this energy, what it's doing is creating tension between your logical mind and your emotional impulses, okay? Because Mercury is that mind, Mars is that action, and Libra is like, let's have balance, and Cancer is like, I just feel some kind of way, and I'm just going to explode or take whatever action I need to take based off of how I'm feeling. So this is time to balance head with heart, right? So that your emotions don't get you in a bad place, and that your logic don't keep you stuck in a bad place either, okay? So conversations may become heated with this energy. Just a warning. They may be emotionally charged, especially when it comes to home or family matters. The key here is, again, balance head and heart, staying calm, communicating openly, and avoiding letting your emotions take over that logical side, okay? It's important to strike a balance between speaking your truth and respecting your emotional boundaries. So just keep that in mind, and that will help us wrap up the week on this heavy energy and this big doorway of transformation and changes. And this is not just happening individually, it's happening on a collective level, because we're seeing how these things are playing out right before our eyes in the media and in other areas, okay? But anyway, that wraps up this week's astrology update. The solar eclipse is bringing major energy this week, especially around our relationships, and Mars is going to be really active, so just be mindful of that. But I want you not to be afraid to step into your power and make those changes. They have to happen, all right? If you found this information helpful, please go on ahead and give a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not a part of the family, because I drop these updates on a weekly basis, okay? Also with a lot more other content that you'll find helpful. And if you're on the podcast, rate the show. And if you're not listening on the podcast, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, because it's a good thing to have just in case you don't want to, listen on YouTube or whatnot. It's easy to kind of plug that in and listen to it elsewhere. But again, I hope you guys have a great eclipse week. Be gentle with yourself, love on yourself, but make those necessary changes. I will talk to you all very soon. Have a good one.